Welcome to episode 6 of Attacking the Paint. I'm your host, James Ivy Williams, and today I have with me Chris Williams. Chris is the founder of the VII Group, which hosts several national high school events, including Bragging Rights, the Emerald Coast Classic, and Holiday Hoopsgiving. Chris is also the founder of Holiday Hoopsgiving, the college event, which will be held in Atlanta, Georgia, in late November and early December of 2020. Chris, thank you so much for jumping on with me today.
Oh, appreciate it, James. Appreciate the invite to even get on here and on your platform to discuss the platform my wife and I have here as well with the VII Group. So looking forward to the conversation.
So first and foremost, with COVID being so relevant in the country still, I mean, there's other things going on, but that was kind of the first big hit that we took. Tell me how you and your family have been doing regarding COVID.
Everyone's healthy. It affected the business a little bit, but we're trying to maneuver. We was right in the thick of things of selling the sponsorship for the, I guess you can say, Holiday Hoopsgiving 2.0
Gotcha.
college side with the title sponsor, presenting sponsor. But we picked back up in May 1st, actually. We picked back up as far as hitting the market and selling it again. Okay. But yeah, everybody's healthy. And that's most important, healthy and just living well. We should still try to get out the house every now and then. With little girls, 13 and 4, with Paige and Samai. So we still try to get out the house and do stuff with them. Like yesterday, we went up to Helen, North Georgia, just to take them tubing for a little 2-hour ride down the river, which is very relaxing and stress relieving. Paige actually fell asleep on the way, but it was pretty good overall.
That's good. That means she was definitely relaxed. And that's pretty cool. And you said you guys went up to Helen. You said it's about a 2-hour drive.
No, to get up to Helen from my house is about an hour and a half, but then when you ride down the river, in the 2 hours altogether from the top to the bottom.
That's not bad. Okay, cool. And also, just wanted to get your quick take on just the protests and the outcry for, I guess, equal justice for everyone. What's your stance on that? Like, how do you feel? Have you guys got out and done anything, any protesting, anything like that?
Actually, I was in DC last week, and I protested up there in the whole Black Lives Matter Avenue, and protested up there with my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law. Okay. But obviously, Paige is too young to understand what's going on. But we have explained it to Samai and my wife. So we're trying to obviously be supportive the best way we can. We put out a statement last week on our platform, VII Group. And then even this year, typically we, with the events, we do Play for Orange, our nonprofit, which is dealing with children diagnosed with leukemia, but we're actually bouncing around ideas now to use our platform now, especially because it's at a larger magnitude, to focus on the social inequality and injustice and everything just that's going on in the country. Because even though it took this pandemic to actually everybody to slow down and pay attention to what's really going on.
Right.
I believe that if sports was going on and everything else was going on in the world, everything that's happening right now wouldn't have been looked at under a magnifying glass as large as it is now. Yeah. So come November and December, we're trying to see how we can use our platform to support the movement and support the cause. A lot of the teams obviously get here a day before they actually play, and they're open to doing any community activation that we have scheduled around whatever nonprofit or however we want to roll it out. So that's what we're bouncing around ideas right now internally with the team at that VII Group. So give me the breakdown of the meaning behind the VII Group real quick. So as you can see, I have it here. Where the logo almost looks like a W, obviously our name Williams, but also the number 7 stands for what it means in the biblical term, as far as completion really. So we want not only just the players, but the coaches and the fans to come and have a complete experience at every event that's under VII Group, whether it's Holiday Hoopsgiving, high school, college, Bragging Rights, our Christmas event, a new event that we're rolling out this year, Terminus Classic. And that's just where we came up with the name. Obviously this year is year 7 of high school portion, also the 7th year of my wife and I anniversary. So the number 7 this year for us is just it's huge. It's a big number.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So that's just why we came up with the name VII Group.
So Holiday Hoopsgiving has been around. You said that you just mentioned that it's been around 7 years. So tell me how you came up with the idea to host what has become one of the most sought after events, at least from my standpoint as a media member at a scouting service. And I know a lot of college coaches come to it, but it's something that everyone wants to attend and if not be a part of. Tell me how did that come to be?
7 years ago, 6 years ago now, I had Terrence Phillips on my team, AAU wise. Mm-hmm. So Terrence played for me AAU, and he transferred from Woodward and went up to Oak Hill Academy. And Terrence is Brandon Jennings' younger brother. So me and Terrence and his mom are very close, Alice. So me and Alice went up to Chick-fil-A Classic to go see Terrence play there with Oak Hill and to support him. And I was just, looking at the setup and the games and the teams. I was saying, hey, Alice, I can probably do something like this in Atlanta because, right now for the last couple of years, Atlanta's been a hotbed for high school basketball. So instead of our teams leaving to go play another national event, why not bring a national event here to the city? And that's what we did. And Alice actually helped me and Tiff get it off the ground where it almost looked like it was an Under Armour event because she used Brandon's account because he was signed with Under Armour then. Used Brandon Jennings' account to gear out the volunteers. And actually, Alice and Terrence worked the door year one for us. So it was just really a blessing to get it off the ground. And at year one, we had Udoka and Wendell Carter and those type of guys with Sash Academy, who's always a powerhouse. They was there year one. And just then it just skyrocketed off. And we expanded and have other events and now have the college event added on to that. But that's how it started.
So in theory, when you first your first event sounds like it was very successful just based on the names that you just mentioned. What I know about events, sometimes it takes a while to kind of build up.
Right.
And so you in theory kind of hit the ground running with almost like a marquee event, and it just kind of, like you said, kind of build it up over the years. What would you contribute to? So I know you just mentioned Alice was a huge part of it, and Terrence. What would you contribute to the success of the event? As far as like getting top tier players and top tier teams into the event on the first go round, because most people always want to kind of just see, like, let me just see what it's like before I say I'll jump in. Tell me how you feel like you got the caliber of players and teams in that first go round to kind of build the momentum for what it is now.
To be honest, not to sound corny, my biggest supporters were probably since year one was probably my wife, who's my best friend. Mm-hmm. So even though I have the relationships, she would hold down the fort at home while I would go and lock in these teams. And even Brianna, which is her cousin, those are like my backbones there of the company. Gotcha. They helped me get it all off the ground. I mean, I have the relationships and can put it all together, but the structure and the formation of just the event and VII Group as a whole is really them two supporting me, especially my wife as my best friend. And just without her, I wouldn't, have the opportunity to be where we are now with keep growing year after year. Right. And it's just, like I said, just been taking off and expanding every year.
Gotcha. So family support and support system, and then the relationship are just probably, would you say they're the most important aspects of just building the brand?
If you don't have your family supporting you or the relationships in the industry, it's like you're starting from rock bottom. Yeah. But if you got both, it's like you're already starting at the top because you got this Black woman who's have your back and supporting you in all this and letting you go and travel and accomplish everything you need to accomplish so you can come back and, plant these seeds and see them grow. And then just the relationships alone. I mean, I was always raised that you don't burn any bridge. Yeah. So I'm on the AAU side, and we've been blessed to have one of the better teams in the country for the last couple of years. Yeah. So that's why I have these strong relationships with the college coaches. Now, I can't provide, obviously, a college coach with every one of my players with so many Division I schools and only 12 players year to year. Right. But at the same time, I still keep it cordial and make sure I speak every time I see you and make sure I shake hands and just, I don't want to burn any bridge, whether I can help them with one of my guys or I can help them with somebody else from another team. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what life is about, is relationship.
Indeed. I definitely agree with you on that. Everything about, I think, the business that I'm in, the business that you're in particular, relationships are just so important. I mean, because like you said, like when I first got back in, I felt like I started from the ground level because I hadn't been on the high school side, and so what helped me kind of propel was the relationships that I had with people, i.e., trainers and coaches that I knew, and then those people would, in theory, then vouch for me or introduce me to people, and would make it so that I was credible right away. Because I can go tell people my resume till I'm blue in the face, but if they don't know me and don't understand what I do, then they're probably not going to trust my word as what it is. And so I think that's huge, just the relationships of everyone, just having the ability to connect with people and continue not to burn those bridges, like you said. So you just mentioned that you were associated with one of the better AAU programs nationally. Tell us about your affiliation with Game Elite, and how long have you been a part of the organization?
Been part of Game Elite for now, I think 3 years. Okay. 3 years. They brought us over and basically cultivated the relationship with me personally and Adidas out in Port. Thanks to a shout out to Dez and Ryan on just giving me and Julian and Ricky and all my guys, even my players, a platform to go to a whole nother level with this whole event stuff and this AAU. And then when we came over, we just crushed it. We played, we were 16s and played up 17s, and it was literally one of the better teams in the country at 17s, and just crushed it from year one. And then since then, we just been building and building. Now that all those guys are in school, we have another new crop of guys coming up, and the 2021 crew, and just building on top of everything we've accomplished so far. And that's the thing. The key is to always stay relevant. If I can tell anybody or give anybody advice, always stay creative and relevant. If you stay creative, you're going to be relevant. Yeah. And it's not being placed in a box. Right. That's the biggest thing. Okay. So what was the program you were with before you came over to Game Elite? Georgia Stars. Georgia Stars. 16 Georgia Stars. Probably, I think that year, probably the number one EYBL 16 in the country. Gotcha. Because of who we had. And then we just came over. And we probably could have played 17s EYBL, but because of rules, you can't have multiple 17s on EYBL. So when we came over, Adidas made a exception for us. Shout out to Chris Rivers and Dan Cutler. They made an exception for us and let us play up 17s and gave us just that platform to go out and sink or swim pretty much. Yeah. And they just believed in us. And Rivers has always been now family to me and my wife, and just the girls. He'll call and wish my wife happy Mother's Day, wish the girls happy birthday. And it's just a really intimate relationship because he's close friends now, and Dan as well. So we've been super, super tight. Gotcha. We talked about this before, but even after you left Nike, you still kept those relationships intact. So when you see the other guys from Nike who kind of on the grassroots side, there's still that cordial relationship and the mutual respect there. Tell us about that. Yeah, I mean, I've always kept it cool and cordial with Matt, who's here in the city, and Chad out of New York, and then just the decision makers as well, like Jamal or Stovall out of Portland, and even Vince up in Detroit or Michigan. I've always kept it cordial with those guys. And like I said, I'm real big on not burning bridges. So when I left, I called all those guys and just told them, hey, this is the opportunity I'm given as a African-American male at a young age. I hope you guys can understand. Jamal and Stovall said, Chris, look, we totally understand. Obviously, we hate to lose you, but you got to do what you think is best for you, not only your players, but your family at the end of the day. And that's what it was all about. So, I mean, even to this day, I can pick up the phone and call Stovall and bounce some ideas off him, or even Vince as well. I'm starting to build a relationship with Nico. Obviously, he's a little higher up, and building a relationship with Nico. And it's just about, all those guys are black males and African American. Right. It's really just about supporting each other, regardless of the brand affiliation, whether it's Nike, Under Armour, Adidas. We all want to see each other win, and that's what it's about. I want to reiterate that because I had John Stovall on a couple of episodes ago, and John was just so. First of all, when I first met John, he was very standoffish, which I was told that's how he is to start. Yeah. But the more he saw me, the more he opened up, and I think he wanted to see that I was actually working and I was out and I was doing things. So I would see him at USA Basketball, or the Hoop Summit, or the NBPA. Like I was out, and so every time I saw him, I would just go, "Hey, look, I'm James Williams. I met you here." And eventually he was like, "What's up, James?" It started to be like where he would just remember my name. Right. And so when I texted him about the interview, I just assumed he would say no because he was going to be busy. But he was just like super like open.
He wanted to let me know that he wanted to help in any way he could, and it was surprising and like very like refreshing at the same time. And so I definitely think that like us all supporting each other is so huge, especially not even just in the climate that we're in now, but just in general. I think there's always this whole idea that we're pitted against each other, and I feel like a lot of times if we team up, the power that we can have will be astronomically more beneficial to the culture and to us as a whole. And so, again, kudos to you for, I appreciate you for jumping on for that. But just in general, I love to see that, from what you just mentioned, just all these successful Black men coordinating and collaborating together. And so it's wonderful to see, just looking up to people like you and like them, just because in theory you want it to be a bunch of us and not just one of us.
Right. Those guys, I'll say this, those guys always had my back, even before I came over and even after. Like, I can pick up the phone anytime and call John, and he'll give me some great advice. Yeah. Same thing with Vince. And then Van as well, my man Van out of DC. Okay. They came and supported my wife and us at Hoopsgiving. All of them have been down throughout the years, and just always supported everything we're doing and just moving forward. And that's why I'll always value my relationship with those guys, sure. And that's the three that I'm probably closest to is Van out of DC, Vince, and just John Stovall.
Gotcha. So the first time I went to Hoopsgiving, it seemed like it was an Adidas event. So like, how did the partnership? I know you're on the Adidas side with the AAU stuff. Tell me how the partnership and the collaboration for them to kind of be.
When I came over, Rivs, another African American male, he was running the Adidas grassroots at that time. Okay. And Rivs was also he'd been on the NBA side as well and did stuff with obviously Dame Lillard, James Harden, those guys also. So when I came over, he was like, "Look, Chris, I heard you got your wife and I have a high school event as well, and it's already had its own platform without any sponsor from a shoe company. Right. So it only makes sense. Obviously, if you over here, you have these players that we're going to support you on the high school side as well. Mm-hmm. It was like, it just made sense. It was a no-brainer because we already built this platform up to here. Right. All they had to do was provide gear, and they're getting exposure. And now you have these national players coming, national ranked teams coming, and Adidas signage everywhere. Every volunteer or worker, Adidas head to toe. Mm-hmm. So it just made sense for the collaboration to be successful.
Gotcha. So tell me this. So I know we talked about previously that your initial aspirations was to be a college assistant coach.
Yeah.
So tell me about the transition from the desire to become a coach to then maybe transitioning to AAU, or tell me how that worked out.
So, like I said, blessed to have the teams I've had. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a gift and a curse. Mm-hmm. So you have these players. We had 7 top 100 guys on the team. Wow. So now you want to make the jump from being an AAU coach to being valued to be an assistant college coach. Mm-hmm. Where for us as African American male, it's not too many Black head coaches in the NCAA. Right. So it's like, what have you done for me lately? So in order for you to get a job, they want you to guarantee a player. I lean on guys like CY down in Florida State. I lean on Amir, Kennesaw State. I lean on one of my closest coaches that I'm closest to is Earl Grant up at College of Charleston. And even Kwanzaa up at Mizzou. Mm-hmm. And all Black head coaches, and they've all, or assistant coaches, and they all said, Chris, you don't want to get your foot in the door with your name based off of on the back of a player, pretty much. Right. I was a finalist at Ole Miss, finalist at Auburn. Even had some interest from Earl at College of Charleston. Kermit came to the house, sat down with my girl, sat down with my wife about 3 hours, him and Ronnie Hamilton. Yeah. And it just didn't happen. And I tried that for 2 years. And basically it's that my vision for what I wanted to do personally, and I told my wife, she knew that was my goal for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. But my vision was this compared to God's vision being this. Yeah. So there's my vision of wanting to be a college coach. And God was like, okay, you want to be involved in this industry? Why? I'm going to give you a larger platform. Right. So he placed the vision of turning Holiday Hoopsgiving into a college event. So December 2018, that's when it all started, and we was in Florida for our Christmas event, and we went from there. And I told my wife, "Hey, I can, do this on the college side." And she was like, "Well, if you think you can get it off the ground, I'll support you." Mm-hmm. So the first coach I talked to, I remember, was January 2019. I talked to Penny. Penny was like, "Chris, you're my guy. I'm gonna support you regardless, but they don't want people that look like you and I at that table." So he's like, "You get it off the ground. One, you got to be careful on that side, but two, I'll support you." So Penny was one of the first coaches that came on board with the Holiday Hoopsgiving 2.0. And then the next person was Coach Kyle over at Kentucky. Wow. And from there, I've just been spending the rest of the year locking in teams and getting contracts back. And in September, I finally, basically, I guess like you say, or like people say, is bet on black. I bet it on myself. Left my job in September, became a full-time entrepreneur, and just went full speed into the VII Group and all the events we have, and just trying to blow it up.
Gotcha. So first thing again, I'm noticing a pattern here. So again, you start something new, and you get heavy hitters right away, right? So you get Penny at Memphis, and then you get Coach Cal at Kentucky. So like these are like, these programs are nationally like recognized by everybody. So I mean, kids know them. Kids know Coach Cal and Coach Penny for everything about their personalities, and Penny from his shoes. But then the programs are nationally like known and televised programs. And so like again, it's like the Holiday Hoopsgiving in the high school, like your first go around, you got hitters right away. And so it seems almost like there's definitely something in your favor, which is amazing to see, because not saying it wasn't difficult, but like those relationships that you had and the ability to just call somebody. Because again, I think people misconstrue the whole idea of it's not what you know, but who you know. And what I found out over the years is it's not what you know, but who you know. It's who knows you, right?
Right.
Because those people, like, you can have all these people's numbers, but if they're not going to receive your call and actually listen to what you have to say, then the relationship isn't necessarily as valuable as what you have, is what it sounds like, which is huge. And I think
in this process, it made me the man I am today. Mm-hmm. So it's like, obviously I'm a man at the age of 37 and grown, but when you're going through something, you kind of take it to a new level. So married, kids, have this event going on. It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
Then you had this college event, which is even more pressure because now it's on a national scale. ESPN, State Farm Arena, it's on a bigger scale. So like, one, marriage is already hard for African Americans, period, especially at a young age. Indeed. On top of now, you got this elephant on your back with the pressure of you got this event going on, and the only thing that can stop the event from happening or even intervening on the event is a pandemic. Yeah. Now that happens.
Right.
So it's like a domino effect. But just taking it one day at a time, staying prayerful, is definitely making me into the man I am today, which is a man of integrity and just a hard worker and staying prayerful about it all. Yeah. And just leaning on more so God's understanding now than my own understanding, not just with the event or with marriage or just life as a whole. Yeah. Just becoming a better man day after day. As a whole, and that's pouring over into the event, pouring over into my marriage, pouring over into being a father. Right. And that's just where I'm at right now.
Right.
Obviously, the relationships are great, but still, it's still a blessing in disguise. I mean, it's a gift and a curse because I'm 37, Black, and I have now this platform that not too many people our age or even that look like us have this platform. Right. And you got all these teams: Kentucky, Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Mississippi State, Dayton, who had the coach of the year and the player of the year last year, South Florida, who's returning a strong team. And now you got to keep it up. That's the pressure. Not only having successful year one, but now you got to keep it up for 21, 22, 23. Right. Like the last time we had a college event here in the city was 2000, the Delta Area Classic. And it was Kentucky versus Georgia Tech at the Georgia Dome. Yeah. And now to be that one that's responsible for bringing it back, right. It's scary at the same time, but it's a challenge. And I'm stepping up and just accepting the challenge at hand Because for so long, the state has been considered a football state. You got the Peach Bowl, you got Chick-fil-A kickoff, you got the SEC championship, but at the same time, we always have a player in the top 10 in the country, whether it's Brandon Boston, even though he went out to LA, or Ant-Man, or Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton, the last couple of years, Jaylen Brown. All these guys have been top 10 in the country. So why not bring a college event to downtown Atlanta, where 7A in the state is probably the next strongest conference in the country, next to the league up in DC with the Math and all those guys.
Right.
So I just feel like it was the best timing. State Farm team and the Hawks has been very supportive. They're not being viewed as landlords and just letting them host it, but as partners. So I mean, it's just a great relationship there, and just been a blessing overall getting this off the ground. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, again, congratulations on that, because that's, like you said, it's a blessing. I feel like when people are living, and we talked about this before, people who living in their purpose, and they know what they're doing is what they're supposed to do, only good things typically come from it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm an audiobook listener, and so I'm listening to this book right now called 3 Feet from Gold, and a lot of it's a lot of stories. It's on the Think and Grow Rich platform, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of the stories in the book talks about how people doubted them, people didn't believe in them, and so the question is, what kept you going? And everyone's answer is, I knew I was right, And so I feel like if God puts something on you so heavy and so assuring that no matter who doubts you, right, the idea that I know that I'm right, and you're living within your purpose, it just kind of like keeps you streamlined, and almost keeps you focused on what the end goal is. And that's what it sounds like is happening with you, which is huge, because
it's 2 words I use. And my wife, she gets mad sometimes because she obviously has to wake up and go to work. She works at Emory. But she gets mad because she was like, you found your passion and working for yourself, you're answering for yourself. And that's one obstacle in this whole. Because you're over here, you found your passion, you're an entrepreneur. But now you got to focus on waking up every day and applying yourself to that. Yeah. If you're not disciplined, you can wake up and just go watch TV all day. You can wake up and go to the gym all day. Like, you got to stay focused. Yeah. And then, so that's one word, passion. The other word would be legacy. And that's what's pushing me, is legacy to leave my kids. Whether my wife are dead and gone, my kids will have something, the VII Group, where they can step in and they have this company. They've been around basketball long enough, whether Paige is 4 or Samaya 13, they've been around basketball long enough because of me, where even if they don't like basketball, it's their company. They can never work. They don't have to ever work for anybody once they get that age ever again. Yeah. Because they have this company that my wife and I left them, the VII Group, that's based on our name, based on our meaning. And even if they don't want to run it, it's still their company. They can hire somebody to run it, and they're just fruit of their labor, pretty much. Yeah, that's amazing. Again, I think us as Black men in particular have been, for the most part, we've been so focused on like just making it and surviving that we don't always think about what we leave behind. And so to hear that again, just the fact that like this is bigger than you, because you have little ones that you want to leave something to. Even if they don't want to do it, it's still their company, and you can hire somebody, and this company doesn't have to go anywhere. This could just be your company, and you can kind of oversee the production and the operation of it without doing anything. And that's so valuable. I feel like if more of us have the opportunity to kind of do that, how better off the culture that we have would be, because it has to be more about than just living day to day. What can we do for the long term? And I feel like you're establishing something that's going to be here for a long time, and that's huge. That's huge. So you mentioned right before that this is the first national college event in Atlanta since 2000. Tell me what it means to you to bring something like this to this city. So you mentioned also that we always have kids in the top 100. We always have McDonald's All-Americans. We had a plethora of NBA draft picks over the past, every year. Past 10, 15 years, apparently, that we've had NBA players come out of the city. Tell me what it's like to bring something like this to our city for the culture of basketball and our culture in general as African Americans. And that's a big word too, culture. So let's think about this. Every kid that we've had in the top 10 in the country, Jaylen Brown, Ashton Higgins, Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton, Ant-Man now, Brandon Boston, all African American, right? So we're in a state predominantly white. So for us to bring this to the city, we deserve it, one. But most of all, I want people to know this is put on by a African American couple.
Right.
Nothing against Gary Stokely. I looked up to him as just a person and an individual. His story coming from NC State, playing basketball, coming here, starting the Adidas marketing and everything that he brought here, and now he's running Peach Bowl Inc. So I honestly studied Gary to even get this far. Now I went down to the office and sat down with him, and he gave me some gems and some great advice. And that's somebody that I look up to in this industry because what he's doing is from the heart, and that's the biggest thing. Whatever you do and whatever you're applying yourself to, just make sure it's from the heart and that you're passionate about it.
Right.
Like Gary's played basketball at NC State, but he's killing it and dominating in Georgia in football.
Right.
And he's just passionate about sports as a whole. So I think it's pretty big to, as we call Atlanta, Wakanda.
Right.
So I think it's just a dope experience that we're bringing to the city as a whole, especially, like I said, the caliber of teams. And to have all this year one is like unprecedented. It's like unheard of. Like just to be at my wife and our age and accomplish the things that we're accomplishing, it's just been, honestly, I know I keep using this word, but it's just been a blessing. I can't find another word to use that can really define everything that we've accomplished so far and continue to accomplish. And that's just where it's at.
Gotcha. So right now you have the high school events and the college events coming up towards the end of the year. What's next after that?
Right now we're focusing on getting these guys that my players that's in college better, whether it's Josh Nickelberry, Christian Brown, getting Ashton ready for the draft. Jay down at Auburn, he had a hell of a season. When Isaac went down, stepped up to the plate, had a hell of a season. Now getting those guys ready physically and mentally for their sophomore year, along with our 2021 team, getting them ready for their last year of high school. And honestly, now working on the field for the college year for the next 2 years.
Gotcha.
So it's like with everything going on, these college coaches really taking the time and trying to complete their schedule for the next 2-3 years. And some of the teams you run into some issues, like the big name teams, like the Michigan State, Villanova, and their schedules are pretty much done for the next 3 years. So you run into some hurdles there.
Right.
And just find a team that it's kind of like scouting.
Yeah.
You go and scout this team that you want, right? But you got to make sure that they have the fan support in your area, or that their fan support will travel, i.e. Dayton. Dayton is in Ohio, but they have one of the best fan bases that travels everywhere with them in the country. Yeah. So that was another home run. Yeah. So you just got to find the method to your madness and the formula to give it maximum exposure. Obviously, having SEC teams and ACC teams that's located or based in the Southeast is a no-brainer.
Right.
That's one of the things that Gary suggested. Always have one of those teams because their fan support is very strong in Georgia and Atlanta as a whole, and then just the Southeast.
Yep. Good stuff. So before I let you go, so I had I'm going to go back to relationships really quick. So I interviewed Rob Allen yesterday, who I didn't know how close you guys were, but Rob gave me some nuggets about you guys. So Rob said the first time he met you was in the barbershop. He said his barber and your barber. So you guys have the same barber. So tell me about your meeting, your first encounter with Coach Rob Allen.
My man Dre, he's been cutting my hair for a long time. He's down at Georgia Tech, and I was just down there that's when we lived in Atlantic Station, actually.
Okay.
I just went to get a haircut from Dre, and Dre knew what I did in basketball. And he always said, man, I want you to meet my client. I want you to meet my client. So just one day I was walking in, Rob was in the chair, and when he was getting out, I was getting in. Okay. And Dre introduced us. This so happened he played at Temple. I used to live in Philly, so I was close to Coach Chaney. I was close to Lynn and all those guys. Lynn Greer. So I lived in Philly for a while, and so we just hit it off on that conversation.
Right.
And then Rob was like, he's looking to get into training. So for me, Rob is younger than me, so I try to support. young brothers, pretty much.
Right.
So he's like, I'm trying to get into training. Obviously, you got everybody in Georgia now that's doing training. That's obviously all good, whether it's the Pack brothers, whether it's Mark Edwards, Dez, Nick. Pretty much everybody's pretty good. So you just got to find your niche. So I was trying to help Rob find his niche like Nick did with Colin. So what I did was connected him with Ashton. When Ashton was, I think, in his sophomore year.
Okay.
And obviously, when you get connected with Ashton and he takes off and skyrocket, and they see these videos, the young kids see these videos of Rob training Ashton. Now Rob takes off skyrocket, and he's just using this platform the best way possible. And he always thanks me and everything, but I mean, it's just what we should do as African American males. If we don't help each other, especially the younger ones, nobody's gonna help them. They're not gonna get a foot up in life, period. So
for sure. And so my relationship with Rob, I met Rob at a workout at Georgia State 3 years ago. So as I'm walking into Georgia State, Rob's walking into Georgia State, and Rob has on Game Elite gear. And so like it's funny that because I'm sure he got the gear from you, right? So like, so I'm like, hey, how long you doing with Game Elite? Well, I don't work for Game Elite. I just I wear free gear all the time. And so from that moment, like meeting Rob at that workout, me and Rob have become cool. Rob helps me out with the scouting here now. He'll tell me, give me stuff, nuggets on guys that I'm looking at. And so it's crazy how like close the circles are without them without the dots always connecting. So it was just kind of cool to kind of hear that story because I didn't know that before. And then to kind of correlate my story with him and even just the Game Elite portion, because like I said, first thing I asked him about was Game Elite gear that he had on. And so it's just, it's interesting to see, but it's also like, you want to support the guys that look like you and that you want to win. Because if we all win, it's so much better for us as a whole in general.
Right. For instance, this is like we said before, it's the longest we've ever talked. But we've seen each other at the Final Four. We out in Milwaukee. We've seen each other in Minnesota. We've seen each other in USA several times, out in Colorado Springs, and even in the gyms here. I know you come to Hoopsgiving. I'm always just all over the place at Hoopsgiving. But we have that mutual respect for each other where we always say hello, ask how each other's doing, and just now being able to catch up and just bounce ideas and just conversation off each other at this point.
Yeah, for sure. It's so important, like you said, like the idea that some people get offended by stuff. Like some people take things personal. I feel like in certain businesses you can't take things personal because you never know what someone else is doing, right? So like when the first time I met you in person, I was at Bragging Rights. The first time I met you in person, and you were just running. I remember clearly you were just running, and my wife was with me. She's like, "Why is he moving so fast?" I was like, "Baby, I'm trying to explain to her like." And the funny thing, that was her first time coming to an event with me too. So like this is the first time she's been in the gym from noon until 10, right? So she's like, why won't he stay out on top? I was like, babe, that's not how this works. I was like, he knows I'm here. I spoke to him. That's it. That's all. It's just like you gotta see each other's face and then you can leave him alone. And it was just funny. So now she kind of gets it. But first she's like, why won't you stop and say hello?
Like, my wife be on my head because it's like especially with Hoopsgiving. If people that comes to the door and they always asking for me.
Yeah.
But I got so much stuff going on. Like everybody knows when they see that guy with the hat on and a book bag, that's Chris.
Yep.
I'm always putting out fires, both gyms.
Yep.
And we got 14 to 17 games a day between the two gyms. So I don't have time to sit down. I don't have time to sit down and eat. I don't have time to go upstairs, shake hands with somebody asking for me.
Right.
So a lot of the time that load falls on her, whether it's the hospitality room that everybody raves about.
Yeah.
That's all her. The hospitality room and Brianna. So like we have at least 50 to 100 college coaches come through there every year. And now I think they really come just for the hospitality room. But yeah, man, it's like when you got an event at that level, you really don't have time to sit down and just catch your breath until after the event, really. Yeah. So please tell there's no disrespect. It's just that I'm going 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Like between our travel schedule, like even just for the last couple months getting this event off the ground, I had to travel to LSU, had to travel to Clemson, had to go to Kentucky a couple times, and just go to all these schools. I went down to Florida State and just shaking hands and kissing babies, but at the same time, getting these contracts back, making sure I get verbal commitments and locking in these teams. And I think out of all my travels with the college stuff, I think she only came because of her work schedule and the girl. She came with me to Clemson. So happened she wanted to go see Josh play, Josh Nickelberry. But that game, Clemson upset Louisville, who was then, I think, number 5 in the country, or at least top 10 for sure. and she got to experience the whole fans storming the court. And because I go to these games and they're playing our event, I get floor access. So I'm walking around the court like you see me at Hoopsgiving.
Yeah.
I own the place.
Yeah.
And now the students rush the court and she looking at me, making sure I don't get trampled by the students.
Right.
It was just a dope experience.
Yeah.
And because of that travel, we got to put together the video release that we did with all the dope footage. But we're actually going to put out another video here probably next week. We finished it and we've just been on hold with everything with the climate of the world, nowadays with the, like we said, the social inequality and social injustice with African Americans and just Black Lives Matter. We show respect and just didn't put out the video yet. Right. But we have a video that we're going to release here soon. So.
Okay, good stuff. Again, man, I appreciate you so much for this. This is definitely huge for me. So.
No problem, man. I'm glad to be on here, man.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of Attacking the Paint. We would like to thank Chris Williams of the VII Group for jumping on this podcast with us. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BTL Hoops. And please be on the lookout for more podcasts coming soon. Until next time.